It's been about a week or two since the actual release of Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series pretty much everywhere. Just like with the fabled remake comes a promise that the IP may continue depending on how this re-release sells. Unlike last time, however, the internet is now more mainstream, and with it comes a series of communities with numerous big people seemingly at the helm. The gaming industry as a whole has also since become more open to taking on titles made by those of differing cultures at face value. Certain companies involved have also since come a long way from where they were at the time of the Wii version's release. I bring this all up to say that things have changed. With years upon years of sheer dormancy, once again, an underlying group of those who appreciate the once thought long dead Klonoa has come together, and with it, a swelling desire to see the series as a whole return. Something I failed to mention in the last video was a campaign of sorts by numerous parties, at least on Twitter. #Klonoa Sweep is its name, and an active attempt to spread awareness of the series in hopes of seeing it continue onwards is the game. I've also been seeing a bunch of memes with some picture of Klonoa next to fake sales projections with exaggerated numbers. The main tagline is that the game sold a Phantamillion copies, and while I do think that's pretty funny, I imagine I'm not alone in actually wondering just how the game's actually been doing. We have a few numbers, at least based off of the game's initial release, so let's talk about it. Before we go on, something I really want to stress is that I'm not a professional gaming journalist, nor am I an entrepreneur or anything of the sorts. I mean, look at the Lunatrillion shirts sold on my not at all dead store. Just calling the series a cult classic in my last video made me want to take a termite-filled wooden plank and repeatedly jab these strange real regions where the sun doesn't shine. I'm putting down the professional facade from here on out and just coming to you all as a concerned Klonoa lover. Basically, take my words here with a huge grain of salt. Yes, I'm using real information, but I'm probably not going to do so correctly, so feel more than free to call out any errors I may make in this video. Upon the game's Western release, at least on Steam, I tried hopping on to buy it for myself, but the app crashed. Then I logged back on and it crashed again. Then I turned my Wi-Fi on and off and it crashed yet again. And then this happened a few more times until I reset my computer and then it worked again, so I went on from there. A few days later, it comes out that the game was actually one of Steam's bestsellers initially, apparently even surpassing Elden Ring for a little bit. If you're to Google the game's sales numbers, at least when I originally typed up the script, you would have been led to an article by GameRant going over what I did just now, noting that the game might have wound up selling 1 million copies. So that estimate is very, very roughly based on it being marked as a bestseller. However, I can't actually find anything conclusively telling me what even makes a game a top seller on Steam. The most I found was that the name is actually indicative of how much money it made instead of mere copies sold. I then decided to check out SteamDB to see what they might have had in terms of numbers, and all that has though is a bunch of rough estimates too. Firstly, if you go into the chart section of that game's page, you'll find that there was an all-time peak, at least as of typing this, of 753 players. So there's that to properly start off with. Then, if you scroll down, there's more numbers suggesting that anywhere between 10 to 50k copies have been sold, though do keep in mind that that number is based off of the number of reviews multiplied by 20 and 55. This is an even less stable number if you consider that at least 5 of those reviews might be fake. We also have numerous reports of the game sitting in 5th place of the top 10 bestsellers of the week of July 9th. According to the UK retail chart. It's noted as well that barely half of these sales are made up of the PS4/PS5 versions, likely suggesting that a good chunk of them are actually coming from the Switch and Steam. While this isn't at all a bad place to start, according to those who know more than I do, there's not a whole lot that can really be said without the literal numbers. All we have are these loose estimates based off of privately shared numbers. As a result, all I can really say is that the game must be doing alright for itself, if the mostly positive reviews and people on Twitter encouraging each other to buy the game is anything to go by. I can also guess that there must be some money being made back as well, especially if they're still actively advertising it. Where things start to get interesting, however, is what we've learned rather recently from a Famitsu sales report, where we start to finally see literal sales numbers. Keeping in mind that this is only the physical Japanese numbers from July the 7th to the 10th, so barely a week, the game actually stands at number 5 on their sales chart, selling 9,602 copies. Additionally, there's also the PS4/PS5 version, which has only sold 1,252. All in all, and once again, only in Japan and physically, we're looking at a little over 10k copies sold physically. This doesn't at all take into account Xbox or PC sales for obvious reasons, so we could be looking at a little bit more than that. As far as I can tell anyway, that's not too bad for a 3-day range. I don't know how much more the game has sold since the fact, however. If nothing else though, at the very least, this version seems to be selling over half of what the remake did, which literally only sold over 6,000 copies in total, with a good majority coming from Japan. Ultimately, it is yet to be seen if this game's actually doing well in Namco Bandai's eyes or not. I guess we'll just have to see in a few more weeks when a full month of reviews are passed, or if someone else decides to post numbers. All things considered, I would say that the game seems to be doing pretty alright for itself. Anyway, next time, I'll be doing a proper review on the game itself. I'll see you then.